Welcome to EIPIP Meeting 93. This is issue number 285. On agenda, we have a lot to discuss today. So starting with the EIP ERC repo split, we will get some updates from editors meeting that happened last week. There are pending task list, which is added as an issue in the new repository. We'll take a look at that. There are a few suggestions for ERC governance and other area of improvement. We will learn where we are on rendering of EIPS and ERCS. Looks like there were a few editors who could not join the last meeting, and we would like to revisit where we are on that. Additional topic for discussion here is the topic of groups. Those can be created after the split to help this move smoothly. There are a list of questions suggested by Dano. We'll take a look into that. We have listed call for inputs, and then we will have some discussions from the past meeting. We also have added a monthly update, the EIPS Inside, EIP Editing Office Hour, and some announcement to go. So starting with the first item, which is EIP ERC repo split. I do not see Sam or Panda on the call. I wonder if anyone else has any update from the last editors meeting that happened and that led to the split here.
Matt said he'd be a little late, but the really short version of it is the split happened, and ERCs are on their own thing. It's a bit rough around the edges, but they do get merged onto eips.ethereum.org. But yeah, I'll let Matt go into more detail on it when he gets here.
Sounds good. So kind of next, but related, is like the list of pending tasks for ERC migration, which Lightline has already created. Do we want to talk about this now, or do we want to straightway jump into the topic group discussion and we'll come back when Matt is around?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about topic groups for a few minutes. So
Okay, that makes sense. So
sure.
we'll skip this section. Please go ahead with topic group.
Sure. So I just haven't had a chance to make any progress on it yet. The ERC EIP split has taken up a bit of time. Going through Dano's questions here, should new topic groups be independent of EIP, ERC, or peer within the same structure? The way I've kind of envisioned it, and this isn't like set in stone or anything, but they'd be like peer. So ERCs would become a topic group. Core EIPs would become topic groups. Or working groups, I guess is the name we're going with right now. What's needed? So we have most of the documentation written. I just have to actually put it up and introduce it. So RIP numbering, even though it won't work, start from a different number. So we have a spreadsheet that we use for numbering, and we're going to use that for now, and then eventually we'll move to something automated. Boundaries. How do we determine what group a proposal goes to initially? Is that portfolio jurisdiction baked into the XIP1 document? And yeah, so each topic group has a section that describes what areas that they're interested in reviewing, and EIPs or new proposals go into the most specific matching topic group. And how do we feel with, how do we deal with specs that feel like they belong in multiple groups? Does one group have initial jurisdiction, multiple specs, joint specs? And I think that's going to be determined mostly on a case-by-case basis, kind of how we do today with ERCs and interface and stuff like that. The general advice is probably going to be to split things or to just pick one and go with it. I mean, we're all people. We can work out conflicts. That's about it, and really we're just waiting on me to publish some documents and get approval on them. So yeah, I'll be getting to that as soon as I can. And that's about it for the topic group update.
Well, thank you so much, Sam, for covering this. I wonder if anyone has any immediate question that Sam may answer on this particular topic.
Yeah, just a quick one. What is XIP and RIP designate?
So I think, oh, go ahead.
I used XIP as a generic. What is your name that you're going to be? So it'd be RIP, and let's say there's a wallet, it'd be WIP. So I just used X to say whatever the letter is. So XIP means their founding document of whatever their initials are.
Got it. And RIP is for rollups?
That's what's been floated.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
All right. Any other question?
Mostly,
Okay.
I'm happy to hear that there's work going on behind the scenes. I just haven't seen any of it, and I knew it was kind of a big deal in the RIP call last week. So I just want to make sure that the wheels are greased and things will happen well.
No, I think you are right on time.
Yep. So I posted a link in the chat to my current draft of what, like the working group that defines the governance VIPs. This is what I think their charter will be. It's a very early draft, but feel free to take a look.
All right. So I see now we are joined by Matt, like client. So if we do not have any further question on topic group, we can perhaps go back to EIP ERC repo split discussion. So Matt, you did not miss much. We just have covered the topic groups and try to get answer to some of the questions shared by Dano here. I'll be trying to summarize it in the agenda as a comment at the end of the call. So going back to EIP ERC repo split, I was wondering if we have updates to be shared from the last editors meeting. Already Sam has shared a shorter version of it that the repo has been split. I wonder if you would like to walk us through the pending task or for me ERC migration or anything else specific coming from that meeting would like to share with the group.
You have something to share, Sam?
Oh, no, not really. I
Okay.
did it earlier.
Let's look at the pending tasks. There's a lot of them. Okay, so I got the token from Jamie last night. I will send that to Panda after this call, and that should get us the EIP bot on the ERCs. I know that he's got the some EIP review bot running. I don't know if that's actually merging things. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's merging things, so we'll have to figure that out. But yeah, we're still trying to get the bot running. That's pretty critical because every PR just stacks up and needs somebody to merge it in the meantime. And then like more generally, we have a problem where there's still this EIP reference in a lot of places on the ERC's repo, and I'm trying to replace it with ERC. So for example, in the preamble, EIP : the ERC number, and I want to change that to ERC, but there's a lot of problem, and also importantly in the relative links. But the problem is that because we're building the website on the EIP's website, we sort of need these values to be EIP so that Jekyll builds correctly. We could translate those values on the fly in the repo, but I really don't want to add a bunch of additional logic that is processing ERCs outside the ERC's repo. It's brittle, it's not really clean, it can break, and we won't really notice. So I would like to find a resolution for that. And my proposed resolution is what I thought we agreed upon a couple meetings ago, which was to just split the EIP's website and the ERC's website. And that's why I got ercs.ethereum.org set up. I don't know, it might even be available right now. ercs.ethereum.org. Yeah, I mean, ercs.ethereum.org is live. It hasn't been really publicized, but it's available. And I think that just makes things much simpler to deal with all of the issues that we're talking about, because we can just update everything to be EIP for the EIP's repo, ERCs for the ERC's repo, and then have a a link at the top in the top bar to go to EIPS or to go to ERC. And it also allows for some different things to surface on the different groups. So I think like as we go forward, some things will change a bit between EIPs and ERCs, and we will want to expose that for ERCs. And I want the ERC editors and folks involved with that to be able to modify their website. Like I think Panda's website looks nice. I don't want it for core EIPs. I want core EIPs to be like very light to download. But if they want to ship that website for ERCs, like they should be able to do that. And so that was the intention. And I would like to move forward with that. But I know that you guys talked about it last week, and some people were more in favor of having another repository to hold the website.
Yeah, it really depends how we end up going with the working groups. If we do one website per working group, I think it'll get a little messy. So, yeah, I think we need to think
Why?
a little bit more. Oh, because you'll end up with like, I don't know, wallets.ethereum.org, and then you'll have like rips.ethereum.org, and you'll just have a bunch of these separate websites, and there might be a lot of them. So I'm not sure if that's the approach we want to have.
I mean, like, what other ones are there going to be? Because I don't see a lot of them coming out of the woodworks.
Yeah, it's pretty much just wallets, layer 2 and core and ERCs.
The problem is that they're just not EIPs, or we haven't really come up with a definition of those two things that makes sense to people. And so it's just confusing to have eeps.ethereum.org have ERCs, but tell everyone, oh no, these aren't EIPs, these are ERCs. And same with rips, same with wallet
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, we created the distinction between ERCs and EIPs, so I think we're partly to blame for that.
I mean, I don't think that we were the ones who did that. That sort of just happened by the community. Like we had this ERC category and they decided to refer to things as ERC 20, ERC 721. And so that distinction evolved naturally. And we at times have tried to like push them closer together. But at this point, like I don't really understand the relation. Like I know that you're describing these things as like they're still an EIP, but to me that doesn't mean anything. Like I can see on a high level that it's an Ethereum improvement proposal that's like ERC focused, application focused, but this is like extreme nuance that someone really involved with this process doesn't quite understand, and there's no way we can ask the community to deal with that type of nuance. So I would rather just lean towards having a much clearer boundary between the two things.
Sure, okay, I'll try to consider that a bit more when I'm working on the working group stuff.
E?
Please.
Hi everyone. Emmanuel here. I go by Oryx Malco on Magician's website. Just about like something around like naming convention around ERC. So for a while now, and I know this ERC is like sticky in the sense that a lot of people like use it, love it, yada yada yada. But I don't see the need for it to change at like a practical, person usage level. But I was wondering if we could, we can have EIPs and what I thought in my mind as EASs or like Ethereum App Standards, whereby the overall umbrella is an EAS, and in EASs you have ERCs. So whereas EIP can just be EIP, it's like an Ethereum Improvement Proposal, or EIP can even fall under like Ethereum Core Standards, if you will. But then fundamentally for ERCs, you kind of give them the overall umbrella term Ethereum App Standards, and then ERCs can just be like the code words or the code names for Ethereum App Standards. So it's a thought I had a while ago. I never mentioned on the Magicians Forum, but simply because I feel like ERC is still very sticky. But then if there is like an interest or need or want to like be a bit more defined between the two, then I think we could start going with Ethereum App Standards, and then ERCs just become like the code names in every app standard. So I was like, oh, what's an ERC? We were like, oh yeah, it's an Ethereum App Standard. That's what it is. That kind of thing. So just some thoughts I wanted to put out.
So you're suggesting like a new name for the ERC category?
A new umbrella, good, exactly, a new umbrella name or a new overall term for the ERC category. Like we can still call them ERCs when we're kind of talking about them, because those are like the code names. But then overall, what was the name? We could know them as Ethereum App Standards. So gradually, eventually, you're gonna have people talk about EASs, and then when people are like, oh, what's an EAS? It's like, oh, it's just Ethereum App Standard. It's like ERC20, like ERC721, yada yada yada. But that way, we can kind of have a path to delineate in between an EIP and an ERC, in a more social way.
Spiritually, I like the idea of reorganizing the naming conventions to make things clearer. I want to be really careful of like introducing even more cognitive overload, kind of like what Matt was saying earlier, where we have more acronyms that people need to get straight of their relationships. So I think whatever we come out with at the end should be as sort of simple as possible, even on the naming level.
Yeah, I think this is originally what I hoped would happen with this split, and I was kind of overruled a bit because originally I hoped that we would completely separate EIPs from application standards and let application standards be their own thing, govern themselves, yada yada. And now we're kind of in a different world where the expectation is that they'll still always be a part of this working group Ethereum improvement proposal world, and we're still figuring out exactly how that's going to work out. But I think as long as we are unwilling to let ERCs sever their ties completely with this governance group, then yeah, I don't think that we can adopt another umbrella name around the ERCs.
I think we can still have them sever ties completely, at least from like I like the whole referring to things exclusively as ERCs versus EIPs, and that they're now conceptually separate things. In my mind, is the direction that we're heading with the repo split, and I feel like that's good enough. And then
Yeah,
I don't think we should have like new. Let me just further thought. Like I don't like the idea of having things called RIPs and WIPs, and I think that's going to be really confusing. I think it should be like a wallet ERC and a roll up ERC and a DeFi ERC, and like those are just ERCs, and that's the name for the EAS that E was talking about. That would be my preference.
So I don't have any strong preference about what they're called. I really don't give a shit what the abbreviation is. I'd prefer if they were all EIPs, I guess. But like at the end of the day, we're not governance really. We just hold documents for people. So I don't see why we need to completely sever the governance stuff. But this is opening an older discussion, so I don't really think we need to go down that road again until we have, a concrete proposal on the table, which is waiting on me. So I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's not reopen the discussion. I think it's something to discuss in the future, but for now, like let's just focus on. I mean, we've got a lot of fires to put out with respect to just making this split, work out correctly. So I don't know where that leaves us with respect to the websites. I feel like it's much more straightforward to have separate websites, and we can think about this problem more as we go forward. And if later in the future we're dealing with 3 or 4 websites and we're like, damn, it would be easier if these things were all put together, then maybe we can do it. But I don't like the idea that we're early optimizing for something that doesn't exist yet.
I see your hands raised. Do you have anything else to add, or is it from the last time?
Yeah, just a few last thoughts on this particular topic. Just around like how we can even socially navigate EIPs, ERCs. So I had after the split happened, I had this thought where I said, okay, at the end of the day, we're going to be doing EIPs and ERCs, but even at the paper level, we're still going to be looking at an EIP for an ERC. So what about, the key thing is if we're able to indicate to people what things are, and particularly I thought, oh, why don't we consider like, so for example, you know how in the Optimism Collective they have like two houses, that kind of thing. I was wondering at least from the magician's perspective, start from magicians, and maybe we can proliferate from that. We can have two camps where it's like, okay, we have camp, what's the name? Camp core and camp application, or camp EIP and camp ERCN. That way, in the documents, even people are able to see that, oh, this is a core, this is an application. That way, even if they see even if they still see EIP in like the paper somewhere, they look at a class or the camp and they see, oh, this is a core EIP, or there's an application EIP, or like would want to see an application ERC. I shared a post in the chats to kind of give more light to that. But then also, I think on the agenda for today, there's like a topic on the preamble. So I think we'll circle back onto just some of this delineation. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for sharing all thoughts here. Like from this discussion, I think I'm getting that we are still not clear on website side. I checked with Panda. He mentioned that he would be joining later today. Maybe in a few more minutes he would be joining. So if he has changed perspective, or I'm assuming that because he is the one working more on the website side, and if he's recommending at this point that we can continue with one website, we'll try to listen his thought as well and see if it is very difficult or relatively easier to maybe having separate website in future. So just for people documenting notes, we do not have any concrete decision as of yet. We are hoping to have one website to go ahead with and look into other questions that we need to answer today. One other thing that I wanted to mention from this conversation here, I really like the idea of division of ERCs, like ERC wallet and ERC RIP or whatever else. I'm saying this because, we have one structure as of now that is documented in EIP1, which is all about standard track EIP. We can perhaps have whatever, like we want to have multiple ERC categories. We can have some certain standard track, not standard track, but ERC divided into different categories. That is a separate discussion that Sam mentioned that would be clarified after the working group or the topic groups are created. We can revisit that question. But as we have on the agenda today, there is a proposal of having a separate ERC1. I'm a little shaken by this because as of now, we are still having a unified number allocation system. We are maintaining it with a Google Sheet in which we are trying to make sure that one EIP number that has been allocated to an EIP should not be allocated to an ERC. So I'm wondering like what people think about having this separate ERC1, or is there anything that we can do to add information in the present EIP1 and let EIP1 be the standard document for reference for any category or type of EIPs?
I think we just need to give up on, ERC1 being special and just pick whatever ERC we want and put the rules for ERCs in there, and it'll just be some random number.
I disagree. I think we should either do EIP1, ERC1 as separate things, or put all of the content in EIP1 for describing the ERC split and how ERCs are going to be managed in the future. But I think that like how ERCs are governed is as important to ERCs as EIP1 is to core EIPs, and we should keep an elevated status and not give it some random arbitrary number, because I think that the category is that important, or the document is that important. But that's my take.
We encourage for authors, or the philosophy we try to promote for authors is that numbers don't matter. And I think we need to adopt that philosophy ourselves. Just like there's nothing special about it being ERC1 except for the fact that it's the first one in the repository.
But it's the living document that describes the whole process. I feel like if anything's going to be special, it's that.
Yeah, that's like the number one thing that guides every contributor developer, and even third-party observer who's like looking to wonder how to navigate this particular side of Ethereum development. I feel like that is very critical. So Yeah, no, I'm with the other gentleman in that it is a valuable area to focus on and to get right, most importantly, lest, newcomers and even existing folks have like major issues just trying to find their bearings with ERCs.
Do we see any downside in updating EIP1? I'm suggesting this because when we initially started with this EIP ERC repo split, there were a lot of proposals and we tried to have that accommodated in the existing meta EIPs that we have. For example, the charter concept that was updated to EIP 5069, if I remember the number correctly, and part of it was going into EIP1. What are the downsides of documenting ERC related changes? Because we do have a meta EIP that describes that EIP repo has been split, and yeah, people can find details over there.
Well, if we put all of the like formatting rules and everything into EIP1, it'll get really, really messy if the processes diverge. So I think it's valuable to have separate documents describing each group, whatever we want to call them.
Yeah, agree with Sam. There's, let me see if I can share this page, but you probably have the link to it already with regards to even like the changes for that in the chat.
If you have something to share screen and talk about it, you can perhaps do that.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll wait first. Are we strictly discussing the ERC1 document now? But I can probably switch to my laptop and talk more about it. Okay, just give me a second to switch to my laptop. Sorry.
Okay, perfect, no problem. So I was just wondering, like, if ERC specifications or the documentation process needs to be documented separately, do we really need to have the same number like as ERC1? I know we are somewhere around 7,500 plus. Can we give a bigger number, allocate a number which is different from EIP1, like any standard number, let's say ERC 10,000 or 8,000, 9,000, whatever it works out. But what I'm trying to advocate here is let's not have duplicate number for ERC and EIP till we have a number allocation process split as well.
I don't think that's an important hill to die on. I think that it's so much more important that everyone knows immediately where to go look for the process for how to govern an ERC or an EIP, and having number one be kind of a special number that is allowed to be duplicate only to describe the process itself is a willing and useful exception for the entire community of authors and editors, etc. I feel pretty strongly about that, but obviously that's just my take again.
Wonder what editors think about this number allocation, and then definitely we can dive into the details of it.
Can you repeat it? Sorry.
So I'm wondering, like, what editors think about the documentation or go-to document for ERC. Do we want to keep it ERC1, or can we come up with any other number which hasn't been allocated but kind of special in a way?
I really don't have that much preference, to be honest. So if Sam has a preference, we can go with it.
My preference is we just write a document for ERC and follow the normal rules for assigning numbers.
That is the RFC way, it seems. If you look at newer ways of doing things in RFCs, they just write an RFC, that's the number, and it says, this is how we do this. So I think it's okay. I do understand
to having a redirect from ERC1 to that number, but yeah, I'd rather not.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, if it's like an alias, that's good enough. Like, to me, as long as people can find it really easily, the actual number, to everyone's point, isn't the important part. It's that everyone's mental model of where to find this thing and what it means is elevated or special in some way, but that can be an alias or a redirect, that's totally fine by me.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that. So I guess the decision is we put it at the assigned, like the number from the spreadsheet, and then we redirect from 1 to that number.
Sounds
Yeah,
perfect.
sounds good.
All right. Wondering E is ready to share the doc.
Yeah, so for those wondering, I've put the doc in the chat, but I'm gonna share my screen right now. So I believe you guys have access to my screen now.
Yes, we do.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, perfect. So this started off as a PR from Joachim. I'm not sure if he's on the call right now, Joachim LeBron, but then I decided to kind of add in like polish up a bit, flesh out a bit into this. So pretty much like what's an ERC, it defines the whole process. But the key thing that catches the what they call the potatoes and meat or chicken, I think they call it, is what belongs in a ERC structure, and particularly in its preamble. So in the preamble, I decided to kind of build out a taxonomy. So naturally, you have like the field. So instead of the field saying EIP, it would say ERC, and then you have the number to it, title. And as you go down, what you will see are two new fields and one existing one. I think fields that people are familiar with, usually type and category. Now with what's the name? With EIPs, normally you see the usual standards, meta, and informational, but the categories you see network, ERC, consensus, yada, yada, yada. For ERCs, decided to take a different turn on that, a more dedicated turn into the app ecosystem, app standards ecosystem. So your types remain the same, standards track, meta, informational, but your categories improve. So categories such as token, wallets, token wallet DAO, metadata standards. Joachim include package formats for libraries and interface formats as well, for smart contracts and APIs stuff, and registry for I think struct-like stuff such as like, I don't know, like ENS stuff and everything. Naturally, this is all, these particular categories are in the realm of like discussion and kind of further improvement. But then the category is supposed to give a given contributor, developer, or observer or researcher a top level view of where they are going to explore. So if you talk about ERCs pertaining to tokens, you definitely want to be looking at token category. If you talk about ERCs pertaining to wallets, you definitely want to look in the wallet category. And then from there, you can further add in more precision based on subcategories. So this can be NFT, FT, like so fungible, semi-fungible, soul-bound tokens, RWAs, hardware wallet, software wallet, user ops, those who are familiar with like the intent-based systems, account abstraction, and so on and so forth. Also in the realm of improvements. By the way, subcategories are optional. But the key thing is that the better you can introduce a subcategory to your proposal document, your ERC proposal document, the clearer it is for people to understand what exactly you're touching on, what exactly you are looking to improve. So those are three key parts. I ended up building a bit of a taxonomy. So an ERC into a type, which has standards, track, meta, informational. Also, one thing to note, in terms of the categories, for meta ERCs, it is optional. For standards and informational, it is required that you kind of state a category and subcategory. But for meta ERCs, it's optional. Such as the first ERC itself that doesn't have a category. But yeah, moving down into like the visual aid itself. So you'd be able to know that, okay, every ERC should have a type, standards, meta, informational, and every type should have its categories, and every category should have a subcategory. So naturally, every type can have the same categories as the other type. So yeah, standards, track, meta, informational. I've added more information in terms of like, oh, how do you define these categories? And then you have like interface, you have wallets, and the subcategories and so on. So the key idea is that besides that, nothing else really changes. Like the process flow in terms of statuses are the same. And I noticed Joachim used like the old how do you call it? Like the link into external repos, and yeah, he used like the client specifications. I felt like a lot of these parts we could get rid of or we could kind of improve on, but I didn't touch them because I was like, okay, they might be valuable, but that's up to the room to really decide if like, okay, we should be looking at these things like consensus list specifications and everything. I thought we could get rid of it, but the crux of everything is pretty much like the new taxonomy, which is geared towards application standards. So if tomorrow a DAO decides, or wallet decides to add in. Hello?
I think someone came off mute. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So if someone decides to come in and build like a wallet ERC, they have every opportunity to decide, oh, do we want to handle soulbound tokens differently? Or do we want to handle I don't know, account abstraction matters differently? They can always find that I actually have to improve this. This is supposed to say subcategory. I apologize for that. But this way they're able to have like this precision to it, and that way, everyone knows what is what to the closer to the needle itself. I think this is like one of the valuable aspects of the entire ERC what's the name guideline document. And I'm going to put a cap on that. I'm open to any questions or thoughts or suggestions around that.
So have you compared this to Panda's tagging proposal? So every EIP could be tagged with one or more tags, the links in the chat, and then you could build a taxonomy out of those.
Links in the chat. Hang on. Is this the one Sam posted?
Yes, that's the one I posted.
Okay. 1 second. The size of tags, so users can filter by topic. Yes, no. So I think this is. So how do I call it? If ERC1 is the blueprint, the tags are kind of like how you can even implement them. And I think the tags would even work phenomenally for subcategories, especially because in the document, I make it clear that, wait, hang on, where are you? Yeah, in the document, I make it clear that we would like for proposers. So let me suggest other values can be suggested in proposal and reviewed by ERC. So they can be suggested in the proposal. So I guess the tags are like a great way to kind of propose them. And then ERC editors can then look at them and say, oh, it looks like you're trying to talk about this. Oh yeah, this looks like a good enough tag to kind of have its own subcategory, that kind of thing. That way, those who come in are also able to kind of see what's already being used and also kind of suggest newer ones. So I think the tagging system is kind of like how you apply onto the blueprint that is this particular ERC document.
All right.
So cool. Yeah, they work hand in hand, I think.
Yeah, so I'll take a good look at this. This isn't a pull request on the ERC's repository, right?
I like to think so because I did a PR on. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'll be able to take a look.
Okay, awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
I'm wondering if it makes sense for every ERC to get its own tag automatically. Like if you.
Wouldn't that just be the requires header?
Yeah, that would be the requires header, I think.
Yeah, we lost Panda.
Right. I should improve that. Requires header. I definitely missed that. I'll improve that. Apologies for that. That way it's a bit more clear, like just from the document itself.
All right. So I know we have a lot of other topics today, so I want to make sure that we get through them all. What was up next? Was this the EIP 5000?
What was the outcome for this? Sorry.
Oh, I'm going to read the pull request and then we can talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for presenting this. This was a lot of really nice content.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Right. All right. Yeah. So next thing was like, okay. We had this number 5,000, and then we'll get back on the web page rendering if there is anything else to be added here. So yeah, the pull request number here is, it's an issue number 284.
Yeah, so this is Prophet ZX. They're kind of a very adversarial participant in the EIP's process. And they are, or we're asking for transparency on the renumbering of, I think everybody remembers that pull request. And I posted a summary. If nobody objects, I'm going to close the issue.
Perfect. Yeah, that was the idea of adding it over here. I think the response that you have added here kind of satisfies the question, but it would be really nice to see if anyone else would like to add anything to that issue. Yes, number 284. All right. There is one other thing before we move on. Quickly want to hear your take, Panda. As of now, we heard that you are in favor of having one website, eips.ethereum.org, for rendering all the EIPs. Do you, by any chance, have any other thoughts or change your mind and want to go ahead with separate separate websites at this point of time? I'm not sure I can hear you. Gavin, if you...
I have your attention. Oh, sorry. Apparently there's a fire alarm. Sorry.
All right, no worries. We'll get back. Moving ahead, we have multiple call for inputs. I have added all those issues here. The issue is still open till November 19, 14, and 16, but editors are requested to maybe take a look. These are the last date where we can, close the issue with whatever responses we have collected, but it would be really nice to get responses beforehand. Anything, Sam, if you would like to add on these call for inputs?
Oh, sure, I can run through them. So
yeah, before we get onto too many new topics, I just wanted to call out, I think that we skipped the discussion for ERC 7539, which was related to the EIP ERC split and ERC1. I don't think it'll be a super long discussion if we can talk about that now, or I could wait if other things are higher priority.
Okay, fine. If it would not take long, let's go ahead and quickly wrap that up. That will actually conclude all the items listed there for discussion.
Yeah, so the quick TLDR is 7539 is primarily useful for defining an extension ERC, which basically extends the functionality of a pre-existing ERC in sort of a more strict sense with some definitions of what that means. I made it simpler from Sam's comment and from discussions with the rest of the editors. I think that we can even make it even simpler and include it in ERC1. So most of those discussions can happen relatively asynchronously, but I think it's really important. The most important aspect of it is really a subset of the requires header, which would be an extends header or extensions, depending on which direction we go from. And that would allow for very explicit forward and back linking between ERCs which extend each other, like ERC 4626 extends ERC 20 and ERC 7540 extends 4626, whatever. We could talk about the details another time, but if there's any major points that anyone wants to call out, I think that the most important place to land is having some form of an extensions header, even if it's not super formal, how extensions are defined. That's basically my position with why I made the ERC in the first place.
Well, thank you for sharing. As I can see here in the comment, like it is something that may be of more relevance. A post working group is implemented, and there are a lot of things that needs to be clarified with respect to ERC, especially when we are trying to have it with tags and having different categories. So it's good to have the proposal on table. We can perhaps have it discussed in future when we get clarity on the specification of ERC1, if that helps.
Yeah, that helps. I can even pull request some initial ideas, but yeah, that's a good place to land for now.
Thank you so much. And if there isn't anything further, we can perhaps stop sharing.
Sorry. Yeah.
No worries at all. And now we can move on to call for input. Back to you, Sam.
Sure. So the first one up here is withdraw EIP 7199. Just reminding everybody about it. It's a rule that should have been in EIP 1 and it's not. So this is just to withdraw that pull request. The next one is remove external implementations from ERC 20. This one probably has a bit more debate on it. There are links in ERC 20 to particular reference implementations, specifically consensuses and open zeppelins. And Dexaran raised the concern that that unfairly privileges those implementations. There's some question of neutrality, whether we remove them because it's final or not. So this is issue 287, and the deadline is November 19th for comment on that. So another one that came up is ratifying the editors listed in EIP 1. So right now, we don't really distinguish between editors and subtypes of editors in our governance documents. So Gajinder and Ben, there's been some question as to whether they're full editors or not, and I would like to settle those questions once and for all. So I have a call for input open on that. Deadline is November 19th for comment. And then finally, we have, there's an accidental function that was included incorrectly in ERC 223 before it was finalized. It's pretty clear that it was like a git merge error, at least in my opinion. Deadline for comment is November 16th on that one. Yeah, I think that's all of the current calls for input. Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. And one point on that, one of the call for inputs was between distinctions of editors. I have added here a link of EIP editors and associates. So as of now, there are two set of people who are contributing as editors. Editors are editors, and there are a few associates who are trying to support the EIP editing process, but they haven't been added as full editors. Kindly take a look at this Google Sheet. I have tried to add all individuals who have came forward to support ERC editing as well. So people who are looking into both sides of EIP and ERC governance or supporting with the documentation have been listed here based on editor or associate. If there is any change, please do let me know. I can update it. But I think this will give us a very good visibility of how many people do we have around in order to support the reviewing of ERCs and EIPs.
Can you add me to ERC's editor, please?
Okay, I will go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so there's the distinction between like EIP editor as a governance entity or role. So like, and then there's the people who only look at ERCs and the people who only look at EIPs. And that's kind of what that call for input was meant for clearing up. It's like, who is actually a governing EIP editor?
All right, yeah, got it.
I can also act as an associate for the ERC.
Did you, I mean, you are already an editor. You mentioned associate as an ERC. By the way, this is open for comments, so please feel free to leave your comments if there is any mistake. I think I meant, Joe, you mentioned that there is a mistake in the name spelling. I will fix it later on.
Yeah,
just
I'll
to
have to
get,
comment.
yeah, Gajinder Singh, sorry, I missed that part. Do you mean to be added as an editor for a ERC
So,
as well?
associate for ERC is better because.
Okay. Okay, then we may get a little bit more clarity on that part. As of now, we have added editors and associates because those are the tags we are using in Discord for people to know. But editors are people who are already listed in EIP1. I hope when we get clarity on call for input, as Sam mentioned earlier, we'll be able to add it over there. But I understand the intent is like you may not be actively reviewing, but open to help and extend your support, if that's my correct understanding here.
Yeah, correct.
Perfect. All right, let's move on to changes to final proposals. We have a bunch of
Can we
open.
go back to this website question? Because we got to figure this out.
Do we have Panda back on call?
I don't know where he is, but we got to figure this out, guys. We split the repos on Friday, and it's a tire fire out there.
So, I mean, does it matter what we do with the websites right now as long as we get the rules for the markdown files consistent?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really matters so long as, yeah, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter too much. I think it's a lot simpler to just go with the separate websites and have a link between the two, because we just have to make the changes to the documents. And if later on we're like, we really just need this to be a single website, then we can write, I think that's a lot more development work. You need to update the website to support the different formats, or you need to have some sort of software that translates the ERCs to the EIP format. Like, I think that there's a lot more work to do there than just having separate websites.
Yeah, my concern is that like some of the rules we have in EIPW right now do depend on the content. Like, are we still going to have the rule that like a core, well, maybe the other way around, an ERC can only reference core EIPs that are in a more advanced status? Like,
We can always seamlessly redirect. I mean, we don't really need to have a merged website as long as the look and feel sort of gives a unified view to the user.
yeah, that's true too.
So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be checked in the ERCs. I don't know. I don't really have a lot of thought on exactly how we want to deal with that. But I think that like right now we're not in really a good place where we're kind of asking them to put things that don't actually link to anything, so it works in the back end with some translation we have. And I want to resolve that ASAP. I know more things will break along the way, but to me, the fastest and simplest thing is to have separate websites, and we can go from there.
So the one person who is actively working on it and is not in favor isn't on the call. Matt, I'm not sure if we would be able to make any decision without that, because in the last meeting we made decision in your absence, and that was different from what we are coming to a conclusion today. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know this, but
maybe we can take it on the Discord and see, because there we will get.
Yeah, I mean, this is terrible.
Open a call for input, and then we can put all of our shit on there.
Oh my god.
We have one or two websites, and then we get to wait 30 days for AXIC to not answer. Yay.
Is there a list of what's broken? I don't really understand.
It's even if it's not broken, what we want to decide, like let's assume everything works perfectly, right? So whatever we decide, let's assume everything works. Do we want ercs.ethereum.org and eips.ethereum.org, or do we just want eips.ethereum.org?
Yeah, but that seems like that can wait. But what's broken right now should not wait.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. We should come up with whatever markdown rules we want, and then worry about which website organization later.
I mean, is there any disagreement about the markdown rules?
So is the markdown rule we use ERC-whatever.md in ERCs, and then EIP-whatever.md in everything else?
Yes.
Okay, we can make that work.
Are there other markdown rules that are problematic. The other main thing I think that I would like to change is to change the EIP and the preamble of ERCs to ERC.
Yeah, I mean that would be fine. Or we just change it to number. That way it's not different depending on what type of file you're looking at.
Yeah, either of those are fine. If you have a preference, I really don't care, but I think that, yeah, we need
add that
to make a
my to-do
decision.
list.
So any final statement from anyone on this one? Do we have a decision, or we are still working with the unified website? We'll continue discussing on Discord and maybe come back with a decision for the next meeting. Okay.
So right now it's we'll keep ercs.ethereum.org working, and we'll keep eips.ethereum.org working as they are today. So both on EIPs. We'll fix the markdown rules so that it's sane for authors, and we're going to rename EIP in the preamble to just number.
The problem is we're getting to the thing that I don't want to do is write these like translations to convert them back to EIP whenever they get to the EIP's website to build the full website.
Well, I'm not saying that's how we're going to end up implementing it, right? I'm just saying, like, in the short term, we might need to do that, and then in the long term, we might have something better.
How much cross-linking is there between EIPs and ERCs in the like split nomenclature?
That's a good piece of data we should get.
I think relatively little.
Yeah, it's probably something along
if it was it.
We need T-store or we need create two, and that's about it.
If it was close to 0, then we could probably just like clean split everything and like kind of edit out those references or something. I don't know, but yeah, that's good data to get. So
well, I mean, the cross links I think are gonna have to use absolute links. Like, I'm not really sure there's another way around that.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want to link to an EIP from an ERC, you would just link to the EIP's website.
The website or the GitHub?
To the website. Because if you link to the GitHub, then when it goes onto the website, it will link to the GitHub. And we mostly don't want people browsing the GitHub unless they're just looking at the history of the EIP or something.
Yeah, it's like if you're on GitHub, you should probably, like, ideally, if you're on GitHub and you click a link, you stay on GitHub, but I'd rather, you know, if you're on the website, you stay on the website.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Dano, you have to add something here?
Yeah, so when your last call, if anyone had anything to say, this whole process that we went through of splitting the repos, I thought that 2 separate websites was part of the process and always part of the end goal. To have ERCs.ethereum and EIPs.ethereum. So I feel like, you know, changing this last week, so it's all going to one website, is a very material change in the opposite direction inside of 1 week. So I was always under the impression there's going to be 2 separate top level domains. And that is always what I was operating on these past 6 months.
Yeah, I agree with that. No, I think I stand with we should have these 2 separate top level domains. I think it's very valuable.
Okay, I will get there. I know this is an hour here, and I just quickly want to check on the next meeting time. We know that due to daylight shifting, there would be a different time zone here in the United States, not different time zone, but the timing will be different. Do we still want to keep it at 1400 UTC? And there is another reason is the roll-up meetings. That is going to be on exactly the same time. Editors have any thoughts? Want to keep it or have any other proposal?
I'm not going to be able to make it if it's going to be during the roll-up call. So.
Yeah.
I'm fine shifting it to after the roll-up call. That would work for me.
That's actually perfect, yeah.
But after the roll-up call is the EOF call.
Somebody's going to have to look after the EOF call then. I mean, yeah, we're going to have some conflict. I can do before roll call, but I know that's starting to get pretty early for some people. I can do after the roll call.
I don't mind, like.
Or we could skip next one.
Oh, is it just a one-time? Oh, it is.
I mean,
just
roll call. Yeah, roll call connects every month. So
Every month on the same week of the month. So sometimes it's going to conflict, sometimes it's not. Well, for the EOF call.
Yeah. Okay.
I
So
hear that we're going to make bigger changes to the number of calls and days of calls, maybe in the beginning of next year. So we don't need to go overboard on figuring something out right now.
all right. So how about
Right.
for
So
the
this,
next call? Let's do it after. And if Pooja, if you're running the EOF call, I can run this one.
no, I'm not running. Actually, it is Matt who is running. I'm
Okay.
just recording it. I'm just saying that because Matt again will not be able to make it.
I think that's fine for one call.
Yeah, I gotta go to the EOF call now, by the way. But we need to figure this website out thing before this end of this week. We can't wait to the next call. So let's talk about it on Discord.
All right.
I'm gonna drop.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
So thank you, Matt. So finally, we are going to be at the same time at 1400 UTC. Is that the decision for the meeting on November 15th?
I think we were saying after roll
Roll
call, so
call?
that would be what 13:30
15.
UTC. 50, yeah. 15:30.
Oh, yeah. No, you are right. 13:30. I don't know. On my calendar,
No,
I can
no,
see
no,
that
no, you're-
EOF and roll call are also conflicting. So
Yeah.
that
No,
needs
you're
to be
right.
figured out.
It's 15:30.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Francisco, I know we are over time, but please go ahead and add if you have to add something over here.
Yeah, sorry. I had one of the items in changes to final proposals. I don't know if we can cover it now or I can make it super quick, but basically ERC 1271, there is a small security concern, and we want to, I'm one of the authors. We want to update the security considerations and the reference implementation, but not the spec. So since this is the final ERC, it would require an exception. How do we proceed with this?
So generally we discuss this kind of exceptions. As you can see, it is listed on the agenda for EIPIP meeting. Unfortunately, we could not get to attend those today. I hope those are being attended by editors async. If not, then we'll be happy to bring it up in the next meeting. Generally, we try to get all editors on board for making any changes to any of the final proposals. So even if it is security related, we need to get all editors on board for that.
So what's the next step that I should do?
Do you have a link to the changes you want to propose?
Since it's a security thing, we're
Okay,
not
I'll
making
leave
it fully public yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you're in the Telegram group,
I am.
Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you here. So I will make a call for input, which is like our formal way of making a decision with a date, and
Okay.
we'll let you know where it goes.
Yeah. Sure. Please tag me on that.
Sure. What's your GitHub username?
It's Frangio. I'm also there on the agenda.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. See you all on November 15th at 15:30 UTC. Have a great day.